Awesome. So I'm here with Yona from Team 321. Thanks for joining me. This was a blast to watch. And for those that don't know, Yona was part of the winning alliance at World Championships for first. And I got to be part of kind of documenting the journey of a lot of students that weekend. But as we were getting closer and closer to the final matches, your team was one that I started gravitating towards. And I'm excited to talk to you about that, about your journey, how you got onto the team, and what it felt like to be under. I guess the confetti cannons didn't technically land on you all because you were closer to the scoreboards, but that same kind of feeling. So, um, I want to share first a little bit of the background as to how I started connecting with this team, and then we'll go into Yona's story. But feel free to throw in anything that you're excited about sharing as well, Yona. But I was tasked with getting content for first marketing and social media team throughout the weekend. And I'd get like kind of like a shot list every day of here's some of the things we wanted to get. And on this particular day, there was a request for crowd reactions to FRC, Robot Action, FTC, FLL. And crowd reactions are difficult because sometimes you have some people that are having, this great energy, but in the front of your shot, there's someone that's just sitting there like staring or not really paying attention, or you've got opportunities where some teams are disappointed or upset and other teams are celebrating. But I gravitated towards your team because it seemed like there was a lot of energy from everyone in the crowd. There wasn't anyone that was just sitting around watching. There was a lot of energy there. And so I grabbed a couple things, and then later that day I needed to get a few more shots. And I was on the opposite side. Were you guys on daily, I believe? What
Yeah,
field were you on starting?
yeah, we were
Daily?
on.
Okay. So I was on the opposite side and I was gonna get some groups, but then I heard y'all cheering on the other side. So I went all the way around, made my way through, got up into the crowd, and we were able to get some great natural reaction shots from your team. And they started mentioning things like, oh, we're just an impact team. This is awesome that we're making it this far. And just like kind of these cool little things that I started hearing and was more interested in the journey, but really it was just the energy that you all had. And as we started getting, you passed that, you qualified on that field and made it onto Einstein and started watching the team kind of go from like, wow, this is crazy that we're here to like, wow, we're here and like we can do this to then finally like raising that banner. That transition period was a really cool thing to be a part of. And so I want to talk to you about that part of the journey. But first, I want to start with like your journey and how you even got involved with first. Were you a FLL student? Did you start as an FRC student? How did you get engaged?
So in fifth grade, actually, I was really interested in robotics, and my middle school didn't have an FLL team. So me and a few students actually worked with one of our teachers. It was my fifth grade science teacher to start our own FLL team. And that's how I sort of got into robotics because of that fifth grade FLL team that we started. And although we were like a really new team, we got really into it and there was a lot of students that joined us, and it just like inspired me to continue into robotics for like, well, obviously the next however many years of my
Mhm.
life. Yeah, so that's like where it all began. And actually for high school for FRC, uh, there was one time where my FLL team went sort of on a field trip and saw a demo of this like giant FRC robot in, I think it was like around maybe 2018. And from that moment on, I knew that like that's what I wanted to do. And the robot came from the school and the team that I am on currently. So it was just meant to be, I guess.
That's amazing. I'm getting like goosebumps thinking about that. You're like, one day I'm gonna drive that thing. That's really cool. And in that first kind of search for robotics, do you remember what got you interested in the first place? I know you mentioned you were interested in robotics and you wanted to join a team and school didn't have it, and so you created an FL team, but what got you even searching for it in the first place?
When I was younger, I was more of like a math science kid than a literature kid. And my parents bought me, I think it was this robot dog that you could like command move around, and also like a Lego Vex robotics set. And that just pushed me into wanting to do it more, just outside of like sitting on my living room floor and like doodling, like messing around with random pieces. I wanted to like put that more into my life and what I'm going to do in the future. So it was really the support and encouragement from my family that pushed me into starting FLL and eventually going into FRC.
That's awesome to hear. So any families listening in, get them that robot gift, whether it's a birthday, Christmas, whatever you can, because that could spark the excitement that leads to something really cool. And you're just getting started, right? There's so many more cool things that you're gonna do in your future that could have been sparked from those experiences. Did you ever feel any kind of sense of worry, or what would people think if they viewed me as a robotics girl? Did you ever fall into any of those stereotypes, or did you just know like this is what I am and what I love and I'm gonna do it no matter what?
I knew that robotics and engineering was what I was gonna do, like no matter what happened, no matter what tried to stop me. But even then, there were still hardships in making it to where I am because, especially because I am a girl, and the viewpoint on women in STEM is a lot harsher than the viewpoint on men in like these science fields. And I just that kind of pushed me even more than I think it would have, pushed me to want to help younger girls in STEM as well, and making sure that they feel included and validated, just like how all women should feel in these STEM fields, just like how I should have felt and how I should feel now. So, yeah.
I appreciate you saying that, because there's so many challenges that we face as a society, as a globe, that like there's so many problems that we need to solve. And shouldn't we want everybody to have the skill set and the passion and tools and resources to solve those problems? Like it doesn't make any sense to me, right? If I have some kind of medical condition, I don't care where the doctor came from, what they look like, what their gender is, who they pray to, like I want help, right? And wouldn't you want that for your friends and family members as well? And even world saving, cancer ending aside, even just like making the world more fun and cool, like we need more creative problem solvers. And if we don't have everybody at the table, and if not everybody feels welcome, we're keeping ourselves back as a society, as a country, as a globe. So I appreciate you that, and I appreciate you for sharing that, and then also for anything that you're doing to inspire other young girls to be able to do that. So for someone listening in, and that wants to be maybe a better ally for young girls, whether they're, no matter what their background is, what would you have wanted to see or hear from adults, teachers, mentors, during that time when you didn't always feel like it was the most inclusive place? Do you have any advice for people?
A lot of stuff that's been discouraging is majority of STEM or STEAM role models that a lot of younger kids are told to look up to are men, and there's not a lot of women representation. So if mentors and coaches could bring more representation and show more women in these leadership roles and helping inspire younger kids and even inspiring adults, it would be a lot more helpful and a lot more encouraging to younger girls to feel like they can make it and they can be like these role models that they see in these fields.
I love that, because it's not like a crazy ask, right? It's very simple for someone to share a story or a photo or a video of someone that is doing something exciting in the field, right? And being able to elevate those people, even just with your social media likes and shares, right? Elevating the content of female creators, of people that come from backgrounds that aren't traditionally represented. Voting with your likes and your hearts on social media is something that can help create that for other young girls. And for me, one of the coolest areas is the social media platforms, because you can create that world that we want to see on social before they see it in the real world, right? So one of the things that after you guys won, I went straight back to my hotel room and I started editing the championship video that I shared on Instagram, because I wanted people to see your story. And I didn't put your name on there because you're a minor and out of respect to whether you wanted it or not. But I really wanted to say, like, check out this person, and it and just like sharing the team and all that, because not everybody gets to see that every day. And I wish everyone could feel that energy of championship, and then to see your story and see how well you handled yourself out on the field and through all that pressure was really impressive. So I want to go into a little bit of your story now at championship, right? So because it was cool to again watch the arc of the team, and then also of your drive team as well, and how you guys got from beginning to end. So for some listeners that may not know as much about kind of the journey of getting on the drive team, did you, is that something from that Lego day when you said, I want to be part of FRC in the future? Was being part of drive team something that you had in mind right away? Was that a journey in itself, I'm sure?
Yeah, so in my freshman year, I was actually a part of FTC robotics, and in
Mhm.
FTC, we had a much smaller team than we do now, and I drove the robot there too. And moving on into FRC, it was something that I was like, let's just give it a shot, see why not. And it actually started because of a all girls off season event that we go to each year called Girl Power. And the point of that event is for women representation. So the drive team is supposed to like consist of all girls. And I tried out for that, and I I guess I just wowed everyone to the point where I continued on not only being a driver for Girl Power, but being a driver for every other competition like in the future as well. So and it's great. It's the adrenaline is amazing, and it's like an honor to be on the drive team.
That's an incredible story. First of all, shout out to that event for providing that platform and opportunity for girls to step into roles that they may not have otherwise, or for whatever reason didn't feel like they could take on. But you said something like along the lines of, let's try it, why not? And a lot of the information or data out there around um, why young girls in STEM don't move forward, or even within their career sometimes don't get promoted for whatever reason. Sometimes from what we see from the data is that if women see a role and they don't meet all the requirements, they won't apply, versus a male might see, oh, I qualify for one or two of these things, and they apply anyways. So how did you get that, like, kind of like, let's just try it mentality? And if there's someone out there that just might feel they haven't seen a girl do a certain thing, or they haven't had the confidence to go into that space, what kind of advice would you share with them?
Well, the main advice that I would share is that anyone is capable of anything, and I think that is really where my spirit and like spirit in robotics comes from, is that I know no matter how much better other people think they might be and how much more capable that you might think others may be, you are still capable of the exact same things that they are, even if it's more difficult for you to get in that position that they are currently in. So I think me seeing the opportunity and just thinking I should just give it a shot, what's the harm? It was just that confidence that pushed me into believing that I was capable of earning this position that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
I love that. And any young girl or anybody listening in that's doubting yourself on something that you're excited about, potentially passionate about, just go after it and try it. Most new positions, you have to learn stuff along the way anyways, right? Most jobs that you'll take on, whether that's an internship when you graduate or a full-time position, you're going to have to learn things along the way. You're not going to go into it knowing how to do everything perfectly. But if you don't take that first step, then you're never going to get to the point uh, where you can fully appreciate and take advantage of it, which I think tails in good to kind of your journey now. So you guys got Impact Award last year, which is absolutely incredible in the first place, right? But then so you're at championship this year. Did you have any like feelings from the beginning that this could be a thing? Did it kind of catch you by surprise? Because I did see kind of an arc in the confidence of the crowd, but I don't know everyone well enough to understand if that's something that kind of started from the beginning and built, or you guys came in there knowing.
So we coming to Worlds, we knew that we were going to be surrounded by a lot of very well like robot performing teams, like robots with better performance than ours because we our robot is good, but not at the level that these world class teams are at. So our mentality and mindset coming to Worlds was just to have fun. And having fun doesn't mean not putting in effort. Like, still going into every single match, we gave it our all. We did the best that we could, but we made sure that doing our best didn't like cause stress or anxiety like how it may at normal competitions, like in our district. And I think that lack of stress and lack of expectance of how far we were going to get actually made Worlds such a better place for us to be at and such a better place for our minds to be at as well, because no matter what we did and what we accomplished, we knew that our entire team would be proud of us and there was nothing to like to disappoint.
That's awesome. What grade are you in again?
I'm in 11th grade. I'm a junior.
Okay, that quote, we need to take this section. That advice is top notch. I mean, if you're doing something that you're passionate about and you're putting your full effort into it, that's all that matters, right? And if you let those other distractions get in the way, that's actually going to impact your performance negatively. So the fact, but that's easier said than done, especially at a world stage when there's, these potentially expectations or pressures, whatever it may be. So the fact that you all were able to take that mentality, have fun, but it doesn't mean that we're not trying hard, right? But focusing on the things that matter, putting your best effort in, enjoying it, celebrating each other, taking the ups and the downs, like that's the journey, right? That people tend to forget about because they only focus on the destination. And that I think is another reason, now that I look back, is another reason why you guys were so fun to follow. So the the energy that I saw from not only your crowd but also those of your team members that were on Einstein on the field, so like those taking photographs and everything, like I saw it start to build. Was there a moment where you then shifted to like, we got this? Or I also, you guys did have one match that you lost and I saw a little bit of a different energy, but then and I even mentioned it to a few of you guys, stay in it, right? Like it's not over yet. Stay in it. Keep going. How did you handle those situations?
I think there was, so as I said, there was a lack of stress, but going further and further, our confidence was rising a lot. And not just our confidence, but also like our spirits. We were just constantly happy and shocked by how far we were making it in this competition. And like you said, there was one point where we did lose a match, and it kind of freaked us all out a little bit, especially seeing as the next team we were going up against was scoring near 200 points per match on average. But it was the people down there in the like the pits, as a team, as the small group that we were of 8 people, it was just continuously pushing each other just to our best, and also reassuring ourselves that we made it this far and we're going to keep pushing, we're going to keep putting in all this effort, working as hard as possible, but no matter what happens, like we are all proud of each other, and that calmed the nerves by an extreme amount. And I think that's what locked me in for the next match that we were playing and allowed us to like just push through it. And it all worked out in the end.
So that makes me think of your famous quote, right? So no notes, no points. In the video I shared on Instagram of you guys winning, there were so many comments around like elite defense, like the defense of this team should be studied for years to come, like all this really cool stuff that were huge compliments to your style of play. But also reminds me of something I learned early in my college career that helped me throughout was basically playing to your strengths. So, doing the best you can, kind of like you mentioned, with what you have, right? You may not have had this elite world-class robot that was scoring all these kinds of points, but you had some elite defense, right? And if you judged yourself based on the other robots, you may not have gotten as far, but instead you focused on what can we do well? How can we help this alliance best with the skill sets and robot that we have? um is that kind of the approach you took? You're like, this is what we can do well, we're going to do it as good as we can, and we're not going to worry about anything else? Or did that kind of happen by chance? How did you guys end up just being this like elite defensive team?
So we came to Worlds with our robot able to do everything. We could like score amp, score speaker, do all of the things that we needed to do, but not at like an extremely high level. So I think that is also partially part of the reason why we got picked, because we were able to be a substitute for anything if anything bad happened. And then one match we got put in as just defense, like trying to shut down one of these like amazing teams. And I've been driving the robot playing defense for a while, so it's something that I got good at. And apparently to them it was just really good. So that became like our new lock-in strategy for the rest of the competition. And another thing that helped like greatly was the autonomous that we had, which was able to consistently score those four notes. So we would get those points for our team and then stop the other team from getting points, which became a huge strategy, especially towards the end and towards Einstein.
Okay. Yeah, you could tell even from the crowd, especially in the last few matches, you could tell that people were excited to watch how you would handle that and like how they were very impressed with it. But yeah, you also mentioned your autonomous, which was very impressive for those listening in that don't follow first as closely as we do. There's a period of time where the robots are interacting autonomously with the field. So there's no driver behind the robot, and then the drivers will kick in after that time period. So to be able to have both of those things, but then just dominate on defense was pretty exciting to watch. And this, for those also that weren't there or haven't been there or haven't seen the videos or photos, we're in a very large convention center with like stadium type feeling, right? It's like you're at a professional basketball game level of feeling inside of that stadium. And did you feel pressure from that perspective, from the crowd, from potentially from being a female driver? Is there anything that like kind of either freaked you out a little bit or was like, no, I need to show up for the ladies? Like, how did you feel in that environment? I can't imagine like how exciting that must be to have that much energy, thousands and thousands of people chanting, screaming, and then obviously driving your robot as fast as you can to do all of that, all the things it needs to do. How did you handle that, and how did that feel?
The first time walking onto like the Einstein field in front of all of those people, I remember I was with my drive coach and my manipulator, and my drive coach told me, don't look around, don't let this big crowd stress you out. And then my manipulator said, oh my God, look at this massive crowd, look around us. And I look around, and it was just, I was expecting to feel like extremely stressed, but it was just like a glory moment. Like,
Mhm.
it felt so just amazing. It felt incredible to be in that position, especially coming to Worlds thinking, like, not even thinking we would be up there. It was great. And being a female driver, walking walking off the field actually, there was a lot of people who came over to us after our matches asking like, where's the driver, who is this guy, and especially going over to our manipulator and congratulating him on his driving, because there is an assumption, well, there was the assumption that whoever was driving this robot was a guy or a boy on the team. So a lot of the congratulations went to him, where he had to redirect them to me, and it was, you could sometimes see the shock on their faces when they realized it was a girl driving, but that just shows that women are capable of being in these positions and like ruling the field like they do. And a lot of the amazing drivers and amazing like leaders on teams are girls. So the shock that came from these people shouldn't have been expected, but it was there, which just pushes me even further to like publicize that it's not all men. Like, girls can do this, we can do this, we are doing this, and we're gonna continue as well.
That was amazing. First of all, I'm sorry that you have to go through that. And as someone that also comes from a group that's not as represented in the STEM fields, I can to some extent relate to that feeling, but not as a female. But either way, in those moments, even though they suck, whenever that happens to me, I know that I'm blazing a trail for someone else that won't have to feel that way someday. Right. So thank you, first of all, for stepping up, representing so well, and then, having to go through those moments that kind of suck a little bit, right? Because the world isn't as inclusive or makes assumptions, that we shouldn't. But you're making that a little bit better for the next girl that's coming after you, or the girl that's looking up to you right now, or saw how well you did at championship and feels like they can do something better, or the mom that's like, wants to support, mom or dad that wants to support their young daughters in the future and encourage them to do these kinds of things. They can now point to your story. But also, I want to like pump you up even more, because through first and through all kinds of other cool things that I've been able to do in my life, like I've been able to interact and engage with some really cool people. And I was like, I want to meet that person, right? Like I want to meet this team, and like having this conversation is kind of like super exciting to me, to be able to tell your story and elevate it, because you are a rock star, right? Like what you did was incredible, but you're a rock star because of, not just because you won a banner, right? But because of the trails that you're blazing for others that want to do that afterwards. And it's evident that your team is very focused on incredible things because you've won an impact award. But this is just one more thing that you can personally contribute to that. And also, quick little shout out to your manipulator for being like, no, 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 it was her, right? Like, so shout out to all the allies out there too that are elevating people and making sure that it's not a surprise in the future, for people to expect that this elite defense is coming from a female driver. So snaps for you. Um, so going in and out, right? It was cool just watching you guys go on from matches. And then now you're on Einstein, right? Now this is it, right? Like it's All or nothing now. You guys won the first match. The second was super close, and just watching you all gather as a team to find out what the final score was incredible. So run me through kind of those final feelings before the relief, I guess, of winning um the world championship. Was that a roller coaster within itself? Was there anything that you take away from that? And when it was announced, were you relieved? Were you happy? I know you were a little bit in shock, maybe. I couldn't tell exactly what you were feeling, but I knew you were happy and you seemed proud. I'm not 100% sure of what though. So talk us through that.
So, as you said, the match was very close, the second match, but I think huddling around with all of our alliance, we had so much adrenaline, and the adrenaline did kind of dissipate after they made us wait for so long to see the final results. But it was really nice being there with a bunch of different people from like different places all over the world
Mhm.
together as a team. Everyone's just hugging each other. Even if you don't know them, you're hugging each other, holding each other's hands, staring at the screen, just waiting. And then the score comes up and we won. And I think when I first saw the score, I didn't even know what to do. Everyone was like jumping around me. My lobster headband fell off my head, my goggles fell off my face. And it was like there was my mind was fogged, but at the same time it was like we really just did this. We made it this far from an impact team last year to winning Einstein this year. Our team is capable of doing all of this, even if we didn't think like that highly of our robot and of our performances this year. We proved everyone who didn't think that something like our strategy would work, we proved them wrong and showed that there are different ways to reach winning Einstein than just having an amazing offensive robot continuously scoring and scoring and scoring. And it just made us all proud how we kind of changed the way that the game worked this year, and we'll probably change it for the future as well.
That's such a cool mic drop statement. Like we basically changed the game of FRC forever. No, it's true. I mean, you could feel it from the crowd and just the comments because I'm following all teams. I'm trying to get as much content as I can. I go back and forth between mass and energy. I'm just trying to get as much as I can, and then eventually, obviously, the field narrows down, but also I start narrowing down onto what stories I think might be the most exciting to share. Um, and yeah, it's like sometimes you hear some of these names. The MCs kept sharing, 9 combined world championships from the other alliance, right? That's just those kind of comments and statements that you hear that might make you doubt yourself or might make you compare yourself. And I'm so glad that you guys didn't. And there may have been those little moments where you think about it, but like it seems like you push that out of your head and you just focus on what you all had as a strategy and how you could support each other as a team because we live in this Instagram world where everybody's comparing themselves to others and that's very toxic, I guess, but also just can can keep you from reaching your full potential because you're constantly comparing instead of working on your own progress. So it's so cool to see that. You got kind of emotional, and I think it was just because your team, how much they were cheering you on. Like I heard MVP chants, I heard them cheering your name. Was it that? Was it like the support you felt from your team? Was it something else? Was it like proving it to yourself? What was the emotion? I mean, aside from obviously winning, that was cool, but I could see a different emotion in your face that wasn't just we won a banner. It was something else.
Yeah, hearing all of those MVP chants and like chants of my name, they all felt like it felt really good, and I didn't know how to react at the time. but also while everyone was chanting for me, in the back of my mind, I was like, it's not just me that did this, it was our entire team. Like everyone, all of the effort that they all put in got us here together. And although maybe I was the one driving the robot, they were the ones supporting me along the entire way. They're the ones who built up this robot. They're the ones who did all this outreach for us to get here. And it's just I would never be in this position if it wasn't for everyone else on my team and like everyone else supporting me outside of the team as well, like my parents and even other teams with all of their support coming to like help our team and supporting us, giving us like opportunities to practice on their field. It's like I didn't do this alone, and even though everyone was chanting for me, it was I was chanting for everyone else.
I love it. I think that's what I could notice because like you were emotional and proud, but it seemed like there was something extra that you like you couldn't say, but you wanted to say, and maybe it's just because like it was all so overwhelming. But yeah, shout out to everybody involved, from the mentors to the volunteers to the staff at the convention center, like everybody that helps make these types of experiences possible for everyone that was in attendance is huge. But also, I mean, even just the crowd you guys had there was incredible, and the energy that they kind of radiated on you guys and that confidence and support and guidance, I think is huge. Um, but yeah, take a little bit of pride in your ass in your role of it as well, which I think you are, but uh you're gonna have those moments throughout the rest of your journey where it's always gonna be a team effort. But keep keep doing your awesome part in it. So what's next? I mean, you guys won Impact Award. You're world champions on Einstein as well. Like, what's next for your team?
I think what's next for our team is, well, we got Impact, we won Einstein. Obviously, we're going to keep working hard to maybe even make it to Einstein next year if we're lucky. But also, a lot of what our team is trying to do is support newer kids that are like coming into high school or wanting these opportunities that we've gotten. And our team in our school, we actually have a sister team, which is now for newer members like freshmen and sophomore coming in, where we are all gonna like what? Oh. We're all gonna work and help teach these kids and give them opportunities and support them on their path through robotics, just like everything that our team has accomplished. They're part of us and they're part of our future as well. So we really want to help and support these other kids along with helping and supporting each other.
That's I love that your answer was not like another banner, right? Like which would be awesome, right? Obviously, I want you guys to do as well as you possibly can in the robot competition aspect of this journey. But I think, creating more experiences that create more Yonas that continue to be able to break barriers and blaze trails and do all kinds of incredible things um, is what's going to be the most rewarding for you when you look back at this. This will always be a cool moment for you, but I feel like someday a little girl is going to come up to you and say, like, because of the outreach that you all did, I am now the driver of my FTC or my FRC, or I joined FLL, like whatever that kind of cool moment will be. And that's what you're going to cherish, I think, the most in the long run, is that impact that you then pass on to other young girls, or anyone that's excited that may not have had these opportunities otherwise. I think I did hear one of the students on the field asked your coach, if does this mean we can have a third team? um, I forget which student that was, but yeah, it's cool to see that you guys want to keep impacting others and continue to inspire. And the whole more than robots mentality, I think, is really important. How about for you? What's next for you? You've got one, you're going into 12th, right? So you're in 11th currently, going into 12th. Okay, so you got one more year of high school. Do you know what you want to do after that, or any other goals you have for yourself, team or future wise?
So this year I actually had I have a mechanical leadership role on my team. So leading one of the mechanical subgroups, I actually led like the construction of the intake, and I want to continue like in this leadership role next year because these small subgroups for making these things like creating the intake, designing shooter, all of the above with robots, I think having this leadership role allows me to be more inclusive with people on my team, especially since our team is massive. So there are a lot of people who don't like get their voices heard by like maybe coaches, mentors, or even other leadership roles on the team. So I try to make it my goal and also other people's goal, but mainly for me, I enjoy making robotics a really inclusive experience for everyone. Just like I did this year, I want to continue doing this next year and for the rest of my life as well. It's, I think that teamwork and just representation is one of the most important things that you can have, and I want it to continue that way.
That's super important, and again, it's going to give you that fulfillment and a kind of purpose that's going to drive you in everything that you do from now on. If when you once you learn to make it something bigger than your personal success, like it actually elevates everything, all of your success, because you're doing it to help others, and in order to do that, you need to elevate yourself. So I think you're very wise in that space, and it's going to take you very far. How about from like the college and career perspective? Do you know what school you want to go to yet? Do you know what type of career or even a dream company that you have?
I know that in college I want to go into mechanical engineering or manufacturing or something around that like engineering group and field. You know, I'm obviously shooting for the big shot schools such as
Okay.
like MIT and maybe UPenn, but it's not, for me, it's not the school that I get into, it's how the school will support me and what I want to do in the future. And what I want to do in the future is engineering, and I want to help other like students be able to get into that as well. That's just it's very important to me, like the representation, and I want to be able to be part of that female representation for future generations.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, don't worry necessarily about the school name. I mean, obviously, if you can get in, go into whichever ones you want to apply to. And I'm very confident that you'll be able to put together a really good story behind your college applications. You just added a bunch of really cool accolades to it. But yeah, definitely go after the place where you think you're going to be able to grow the most in the things that you're most passionate about. When I was trying to choose my career, I had a couple options that I did interviews with, and the company I ended up choosing. And this was before I knew anything about First, but Rockwell Automation happens to be a very big supporter of First, helps make the field possible. What I loved about Rockwell was that my interviews with them felt more like, how do you want to grow here? Versus like, do you fit what I need for this very specific entry level role? And that I think helped really drive my decision because I felt that they cared about my long-term future with the company, not just what my first job was going to be. And that turned out to be extremely valuable and allowed me to end up growing into the person I am today and go down the path that I was able to kind of create for myself that may not have had opportunities for in other places. Any dream companies yet,
I'm not sure,
or
really.
industry maybe? So just mechanical engineering in general is kind of your space,
Yeah,
which is cool.
I'll figure myself out. I know I'll find something that I really want to do, but
Okay.
right now I'm just going with the flow.
Okay, sounds good. And that's fine. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do for a while, even though I chose mechanical engineering. That's what I studied at the University of Wisconsin. Eventually found my way to what I kind of liked more. But don't feel like you need to know it all right away, and that you can't pivot even within your career with what technical electives you take. Even within mechanical engineering, you can really focus on different areas and kind of figure out what your passions are. The reason I asked is like maybe I could drop your name in a hat somewhere for the future if I know people at those companies. So as you start figuring it out, feel free to reach out. And I'll give you a little shout out to whoever you want to work for. Um, in addition to that, just taking on any type of internship opportunities that you might be able to get exposed to. It's never too early to be looking for that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to see what you'll be able to do there. Um, any so I want to do a couple of things. One, well, let's start with this. First, I'm giving you a magic wand, right? You're gonna send me to the CEO of First, and I get to take a message to him. What do you want leadership at First to know? You can take a second because I know that's a really big loaded question with endless opportunities. But is there anything that stands out that you would really love for the leadership of the First community to understand or to work on, or to do more of?
Um, I do think that what's really important is a lot of people view first as just a competition to make it to the top, to have the best of the best. And that's not all that, like, that's not what it's about, especially at worlds and events like that where you're able to meet new people and communicate with others that you might not have had that chance to do. It's a lot about branching out and discovering new things, not just making your team like be out there, try and win, try and do everything. And it is especially like upsetting when something like doesn't go the way you planned, especially like losing or not achieving something that you would have wanted to. But I think that it should be known that no matter what, there are people out there to support you and to be proud of you, especially in our community. And that's just what you have to look out for.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna remember what your robot looked like. I'm not gonna remember exactly like that aspect of it, even if I didn't have the opportunity to learn specifically how your robot worked. But even if I had sat down with you guys for a while, I think I'd remember more who you guys were as a person, or as people, how you work together as a team, the energy your manipulator, and Cordell also had together, like the vibes that you guys had. Those relationships, those experiences, the impact that you have on others, that's really what's going to be important. And I think not only, I mean, I think First Leadership understands that. It's just make sure how do we keep elevating that and keep sharing those stories. But I think all the way through the organization, we need to remind ourselves, mentors, refs, coaches, everybody, students, like keeping that in mind at all times that it's more than robots, basically, is the easiest way to put it. And that's what's going to end up allowing you to learn things that you need for other cool things you want to do in the future beyond First. Okay, so we had your magic wand question. Now we're going to go back in time and we are going to talk to, let's say, second grade Yona. What advice or what message would you share with her? What would you want yourself and other little girls to know that you know now?
I think I would tell myself that this is still something that like I know a lot of people are struggling with, and it's the way that other people perceive you as a person. Um, I wasn't perceived as like the most intelligent child, and I feel like that really stopped me from going for things that I could have gone for in like throughout middle school and even the beginning of high school. It really like just like I lacked that encouragement and motivation to do things and like reach out and find these opportunities for myself because of what other people viewed me as, even though I myself knew that I was capable and was able and I am smart. And it was just, yeah, it was a little hard for me in those lower grades. So I think I would tell myself to just not listen to other people, listen to the people who are there for me and who want to see me succeed, and especially just listen to myself and don't put myself down. The only person that can control what happens to me is myself. So I think that's something that I really needed to hear.
You go, little Yona. You're one day you're gonna be a world champion driver. Like, don't listen to the noise. That's so sometimes sad to to know that we don't always have the support that we should, especially young kids who are too young to have done anything wrong or deserve any type of label or title or those things that are unnecessary. On the other side, it's like it's so easy to tell a little kid that they could do something. Like, why not use that energy to plant a little seed that who knows what it will turn into in the future? For me, it was the couple math teachers that said, hey, you should look at engineering. I might not have looked into it if it wasn't for those teachers, because I did well in math, but it was like my hardest class to do well in. So I never viewed myself in that anyways. And so like I feel like every kid should have someone that says, hey, look at this, or I believe in you here. You can, you can go into that space. The other advice, because it's unfortunately it's going to happen, it's going to continue to happen. There's going to be people that, because whatever reason, like you said, just because you were a female driver, certain reactions or comments or whatever happen. But the best advice I had received on this was never listen to advice or feedback that doesn't empower you. It doesn't mean that you don't listen to constructive criticism. It doesn't mean that you're perfect and you only accept positive remarks. What it means is that the keyword there is that empowers you. Criticism, when constructive and from a good place, can empower you, right? Because someone cares enough about you to kind of point out maybe a potential blind spot that you have, or that you're not maybe realizing your fullest potential. That's the type of things that you listen to. There's others that are just haters or just trying to bring you down or whatever. Like that stuff you just push to the side. And then the other side of that is, if someone believes in you, even if you don't, they're not just doing it randomly, right? So it might take you some time to fully believe it, but start to believe it and start going in that direction. I think little you would be very proud of big you. And I know that big you is going to be very proud of current you.